Matt Mercer pranks Critical Role fans. D&D releases powerful new solo play rules, and new details on Critical Role's Gen Con live show give us a glimpse at the future of both Robbie Daymond and Chetney.
Alright, my arms are wide open, let's do this.
Welcome to Fantasy News Friday on the Character Sheet, your home for the week's biggest TTRPG and fantasy news. Before we talk some Critical Role and Dungeons & Dragons, why not take a second to hit those like and subscribe buttons to help us keep this channel growing. It's fast, it's free, and it really helps. And then, let's dive into the news. Matt Mercer had his latest "it has begin" moment on social media yesterday, when it seems that he forgot to change the launch date of a scheduled tweet on the raging dumpster fire that was once known as Twitter. The tweet, which asked fans to catch episode 6 of Age of Umbra over on Beacon, was clearly written at a time when the cast thought they wouldn't be taking this week off, and it went out as written and confused the hell out of a lot of critters, before Sam Riegel finally popped on and posted an April Fool's tweet to let fans know that it was not a last-minute change of plans. Matt has not always had the greatest luck with tweets, but we did get a little insight into what we can expect from Age of Umbra Episode 6 when it actually does air next week, as his tweet talks about shadows waiting to pounce, the quote, promise of salvation, and the fact that there was blood in the water when it came to the badly worn and torn survivors. So when Age of Umbra Episode 6 actually does air next Saturday, expect things to ratchet up yet another notch, as this so-called promise of salvation may simply wind up in a bloody and brutal end for the heroes. In other Critical Role news, a new blurb promoting their August live show at Gen Con has shed a lot of light on some wildly speculated on things, like the fate of Chetney and the status of Robbie Daymond in Critical Role. If you watched our interview with Robbie Daymond here last week, and you should because Robbie was amazing and hilarious, he called himself, quote, Critical Role adjacent, and made sure that he was never speaking for the Critical Role cast, just himself. And now, with this new promotional blurb putting him outside of the official Critical Role cast, it's clear that while Robbie may be sticking around in some capacity, we may have to give up on the dream of him becoming a full cast member, at least for now, as it appears he's keeping this Critical Role adjacent status for the time being. Also, as pointed out by several astute observers on social media, this August live show will be the first time Travis gets to play Chetney in the Daggerheart system, where he can literally choose to make him die if he goes down to 0 hit points. And you know there is nothing Travis would love more than to finally put Chetney down in a blaze of glory. And with talk of dark bargains and deadly debts, we may finally see Bell's Hells face all of those consequences so many fans thought they got away with scot-free during Campaign 3. And given that much potential peril, and Travis's well-known want to see Chetney take a dirt nap, it might be the last time we see everyone's favorite gnome werewolf in action. And finally, Dungeons & Dragons have revealed their new rules for solo play, where you have one DM and a single player, as part of their new Dragon Delves anthology, and the powerful new boon that seems to make it possible. Even in non-combat situations, a solo player faces a tough hill to climb, as failing any persuasion, stealth, or other skill check with no other party member to bail you out can be just as disastrous as a back-alley ambush. But the new D&D book introduces the Blessing of the Lone Champion, a buff that can be applied to solo players. Solo players can simply be given the blessing, which has 2 major perks to make their lives easier. First, you get an inspiration back every time you short or long rest, so you have a lot more chances to reroll those crucial skill or social interactions when you need it most. And secondly, you get 10 times your level in temporary hit points when you get the blessing and at every level up after. Especially once you start hitting those mid and high levels, that can sometimes carry you through more than a single combat before you ever take damage to your actual hit points, and gives solo players a chance to experience combat without it being either wildly lethal or incredibly watered down. Honestly, if you stick to a pretty aggressive leveling schedule in the campaign, we think the Blessing of the Soul Champion may be one of the best new mechanics D&D has put out in a while, and really seems to deal with the 2 biggest issues facing solo players without breaking the game in their favor. So grab a copy of Dragon Delves if you want to learn more and work this big solo play buff into your D&D campaign. And that's all we have this week on Fantasy News Friday. Let us know what your favorite story was down in the comments, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.